The strange signal appeared on a Tuesday. It was unlike anything NASA had seen before. The signal moved toward Earth at incredible speed, and the scientists at Mission Control could not explain it. Dr. Alan Carter stared at his computer screen. His eyes were tired after working for 16 hours straight. As the lead physicist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, he was the first person they called when the signal was detected. "This can't be natural," he muttered, pushing his glasses up his nose. "The pattern is too regular." 3 days later, the world changed forever. A massive ship entered Earth's orbit. It was beautiful and terrifying, a spiral of silver and blue that stretched over 5 miles long. Smaller craft broke away from the main vessel and hovered above major cities. No one panicked. No one ran. Everyone just looked up and waited. The aliens called themselves the Valkyrie. They were tall, with features that reminded Alan of birds, sharp eyes, elegant movements, and skin covered in fine, colorful feathers. They spoke perfect English through translation devices and said they represented something called the Galactic Council. "We come in peace and friendship," their leader announced in the first global broadcast. "Your species has reached the threshold where you are ready to join the greater galactic community." Dr. Lisa Ward stood beside Alan during the first official meeting with the aliens. As the top xenobiologist in the country, she studied every movement the Valkyrie made. "They're hiding something," she whispered to Alan when the aliens weren't looking. "Their body language doesn't match their words." Alan nodded slightly. "I noticed that too. They talk about sharing technology, but they keep checking our reactions, like they're measuring something." The Valkyrie brought amazing gifts. They offered medical technology that could cure cancer and extend human life by decades. They showed plans for clean energy systems that would end pollution. Most exciting of all, they offered faster-than-light travel, the key to the stars. World leaders welcomed the aliens with open arms. Within weeks, construction began on joint human-alien facilities around the globe. People celebrated in the streets. The future looked bright. Captain Susan Miller wasn't celebrating. As a United States Space Force officer, she was assigned to work with the Valkyrie on defense matters. Something about their requests bothered her. "They want to build outposts in very specific locations," she told her superior officer. "All of them are near military bases or major infrastructure. They said it's for the integration of their communication systems with ours," her commander replied. "Then why do they need one in the middle of nowhere or next to our missile silos?" Susan asked. "And why won't they let us see inside certain areas of their ships?" The commander shrugged. "Don't rock the boat, Miller. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to humanity." 6 weeks after first contact, Alan was invited aboard the main Valkyrie ship. He wandered away from the tour group when no one was looking and found himself in a strange room. The walls were covered with screens showing Earth from different angles. One screen showed a list of human names with strange symbols next to them. Alan's name was on the list. He quickly took pictures with his phone before a Valkyrie guard appeared and escorted him back to the group. That night, he called Lisa and Susan. "I think we need to talk," he said. "Not over the phone. In person. There's something wrong with our new friends from space." They met at a small coffee shop the next day. Alan showed them the pictures. "I had a linguist friend look at these symbols," he said. "They're not part of the language the Valkyrie taught us. But she thinks this one means threat, and this one means priority." Susan leaned forward. "Why would your name be labeled as a threat?" "Because I asked too many questions," Alan replied. "And I think they're planning something much bigger than a cultural exchange." Lisa looked out the window at the Valkyrie ship hovering in the distance. "So what do we do now?" Alan took a deep breath. "We find out what they're really doing here, before it's too late." 6 months passed quickly. The world changed more in that time than in the previous 50 years. Hospitals used Valkyrie medicine to heal the sick. New power plants glowed with alien energy. And in Florida, workers built the first human ship that could travel faster than light. Alan Carter worked long hours in his lab, studying the technology the aliens shared. On the surface, he smiled and thanked the Valkyrie, but in secret he looked for their true plans. His chance came on a rainy Tuesday. The Valkyrie asked him to help with their translation system. While working on the alien computer, Alan found files that weren't protected. He copied them when no one was looking. That night, he couldn't sleep. The files showed the truth. The Galactic Council had done this before. 12 other worlds had received the same gifts from the Council. All 12 now served the Council as little more than slaves. They don't want partners, Alan told Lisa and Susan the next day. They met in Susan's garage, where they were sure no alien technology could hear them. They want servants. They give us technology to make us dependent on them. Then they control us through that dependence. Lisa nodded, her face pale. I've noticed things in their medical technology. It all requires special materials that only they can provide. If they stopped supplying those materials, our new hospitals would shut down in weeks. The same with the power plants, Alan said. And I bet the new ship won't fly without their permission. Susan paced across the garage. We need proof we can show others. And we need help. They found help in John Patterson. He used to work in military intelligence before the Valkyrie came. Now he worked at the Joint Human-Alien Technology Center in Nevada. He had access to areas most humans couldn't enter. I can get in, John said when they contacted him. But I'll need a distraction. They created their plan carefully. Susan arranged a special tour for important military officials. While the Valkyrie were busy with the tour, John slipped into the restricted area. What he found confirmed their worst fears. In a hidden room, screens showed maps of Earth with key points marked. Power grids, water systems, internet connections, and beside each point, alien devices waited to be activated. They can shut us down with the push of a button, John explained later, showing them pictures he had taken. And there's more. Look at these. The pictures showed strange machines. According to notes John had copied, the machines could disable all technology not made by the Council. If activated, Earth would lose everything. Cars, planes, phones, computers. This isn't a cultural exchange, Susan said. It's an invasion. A slow, careful invasion. Alan studied the pictures closely. These systems have weaknesses. All technology does. We need to find those weaknesses. How? Lisa asked. We're just 4 people. Then we need more people, Alan said firmly. Careful people. Smart people. People who will believe us. They started small. A scientist here. A soldier there. People who had doubts about the Valkyrie. People who asked questions. Each new member brought others they trusted. They called themselves the Independence Initiative. They met in basements, in cabins in the woods, in places with no alien technology. They shared information and made plans. The Council thinks we're primitive, Alan told the growing group. They think we'll blindly accept their gifts without questioning why they're giving them. That's their mistake. What's our next step? Someone asked. John spread a map on the table. We need our own facility. Somewhere off the grid. Somewhere we can work without them watching us. And we need to develop our own technology, Lisa added. Technology they don't control. Susan stood up. We also need to warn people about what's coming. Carefully, so the Valkyrie don't notice. Alan looked around at the determined faces. The Galactic Council planned to rule humanity. But humans have other ideas. More Valkyrie ships arrived each month. They hung in the sky like silver stars. Earth governments welcomed them with open arms. New treaties were signed. New trade deals were made. Few people questioned why all human ships now needed Council safety systems. The Independence Initiative grew slowly but steadily. They worked in the shadows, careful not to draw attention from the Valkyrie. Alan, Lisa, Susan, and John met with their newest recruit in an old diner outside Denver. Dr. William Hayes was a computer expert who had been studying the Council's systems for months. They're watching us. William said quietly. He was a thin man with thick glasses and nervous hands. The new global communication network they helped us build. It has eyes and ears everywhere. He showed them his tablet. On the screen, lines of code scrolled past. These are surveillance programs hidden deep in the system. They can listen through any connected device. They can watch through cameras. They can track anyone using the network. Susan frowned. Can you block them? William smiled for the first time. I already did. At least for us. I created a separate system that looks normal to their monitors, but actually runs on different codes. That's how I contacted you safely. We need more than just secure communications, Alan said. We need a place to work where they can't find us. John had the answer. He led them to an abandoned mine in the Colorado mountains. The entrance was hidden by trees and rocks. Inside, tunnels stretched deep underground. The walls contain high amounts of certain minerals. John explained as they walked through the dark passages. The minerals block their scanning technology. They can't see what's down here. It's perfect, Lisa said. We can set up labs, bring in equipment a little at a time, build our own technology without their knowledge. They worked day and night to make the mine livable. They installed power generators, air systems, and living quarters. They brought computers, lab equipment, and tools, all without using council technology. As their hidden base grew, so did their organization. Each member carefully recruited others: scientists, engineers, military personnel, government workers, anyone who doubted the council's intentions and had valuable skills. They faced their first challenge when the council announced new regulations for all Earth spaceships. Every vessel needed Valkyrie supervisors on board. All flight plans needed council approval. They're tightening their grip, Susan said during a meeting at the base. 50 members of the initiative sat around tables in the main cavern. Soon they'll control every move we make in space. What about the UES Pathfinder? Someone asked. The Pathfinder was the first human ship designed to travel to another star system. It's almost ready for its first mission. The Council insists on installing their systems throughout the ship, Alan said, and they want half the crew to be Valkyrie. William raised his hand. I might have a solution. I've been studying their control systems. I think I can create something that looks like their technology, but actually runs on our protocols. Can you make it work with the Pathfinder? Susan asked. William nodded. With help, yes. They'll think the ship is under their control, but it will actually respond only to human commands. That's a start, Alan said. But we need more. We need weapons in case things go bad. We need ships they don't know about. We need a way to communicate that they can't intercept. Lisa stood up. Most importantly, we need to understand them better than they understand us. The Council thinks they know humans, but they only see what they expect to see. They miss what makes us different from the other species they've conquered. John looked around at the determined faces. What makes us different? Lisa smiled. We don't give up. We adapt. We find ways to survive against impossible odds. And right now, that's exactly what we're going to do. The room filled with nods and quiet words of agreement. The resistance against the Galactic Council had truly begun. A year passed since the Valkyrie first arrived. Earth looked different now. Tall silver buildings reached into the sky. Cars flew above the streets. Sick people walked out of hospitals completely healed. The red sands of Mars now had the first human colony. The UES Pathfinder sat in its launch bay, ready for its journey to Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to Earth. It would be the first human ship to travel so far. In their hidden base, the Independence Initiative made important discoveries. Lisa spent countless hours studying the biology of the Council species. She compared them to humans. Look at this, she said, pointing to her screen where brain scans appeared. Alan, Susan, John, and William gathered around. These are Valkyrie brains. Their neural pathways are fixed. Once they learn something, they struggle to learn a different way to do the same task. She switched to human brain scans. Our brains are different. We form new connections easily. We adapt faster. She smiled. That's why they fear us. We can change. They mostly can't. William had his own breakthrough. After months of work, he created devices that could block council override systems. They build backdoors into everything they give us, he explained. But I found a way to close those doors without them knowing. At night, when most initiative members slept, Alan often sat alone, listening to council communications they had intercepted. He spoke several alien languages now. What he heard worried him more each day. They classify us as a Category 5 assimilation challenge, he told the others during their morning meeting. Only 2 other species have ever received that classification. The council sees us as dangerous. Good, Susan said firmly. They should fear us. Their plan has 3 phases, Alan continued. First, make us dependent on their technology. Second, limit our expansion to a few nearby star systems. Third, slowly reduce our self-governance until we're just another resource for them to use. John frowned. How long until they reach Phase 3? Based on what I've heard, maybe 6 months, Alan replied. The room grew quiet. Their time was running out. We need more information, Susan said finally. We need to get onto one of their main ships again. Alan nodded. I have an idea. The council vessel Harmony is having maintenance done. They're using human workers for basic tasks to show their trust in us. We could pose as maintenance crew. 2 days later, Alan and Susan wore gray work uniforms as they boarded the massive council ship. They carried tool bags that hid scanning devices and small cameras. Stay close to me, Susan whispered as they followed a group of workers. We'll separate when we reach the lower decks. They worked for hours, pretending to check systems while actually scanning and recording everything they saw. When the shift supervisor wasn't looking, they slipped away down a restricted corridor. We have 15 minutes before the next security sweep, Susan said, checking her watch. They moved quickly through the dimly lit hallway until they reached a sealed door. Alan used a device William had made to bypass the lock. The door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with rows of glowing tanks. Each tank contained something floating in clear liquid. What are these? Susan asked, her voice barely a whisper. Alan moved closer to one tank. His face went pale. These are genetic samples. Human genetic samples. Susan checked another section of the room. Alan, you need to see this. She pointed to a different set of tanks. These contained strange creatures, part human, part something else. They're creating hybrids, Alan said, mixing human genetics with other species. Susan took pictures of everything while Alan downloaded data from a computer terminal. They heard voices approaching. Time to go, Susan said. They slipped out just before guards entered the room. They rejoined the maintenance crew, their hearts racing, but their faces calm. That night, back at the hidden base, they showed the others what they had found. This is worse than we thought, Lisa said, examining the genetic data. They're not just planning to rule us. They're trying to change what we are. The council began to tighten its grip on Earth. New rules appeared every week. Human spacecraft designs had to follow council guidelines. Earth governments now included council advisors who had final say on important decisions. Resources went to council-approved projects, while independent human efforts struggled to get funding. Ellen watched the news in the hidden base's common room. A Valkyrie representative smiled as he announced more safety protocols for human good. They're moving faster than we expected, Alan told the others. They see our resistance forming, even if they haven't found us yet. Susan paced the room. I got new orders today. The UES Pathfinder launches next month for Alpha Centauri. I'll be the captain. She paused. But I must take 5 council members as part of my crew. That's actually good news, William said. Everyone looked at him in surprise. We can use this. The devices I created to block their control systems are ready. We can install them on the Pathfinder without them knowing. Can you make them small enough to hide? Susan asked. William nodded. They'll look like normal parts of the ship's systems. The council won't notice them unless they take the whole ship apart. John entered the room holding a small metal box. I have something too. Short-range communicators that don't use council networks. Your crew can use them to talk privately. Susan took the box. Thank you. But what about here on Earth? We're running out of time. We need to see their main base on the moon, Alan said. That's where they coordinate everything. If we can get in there, we might find their full invasion plan. The moon base was the council's largest facility in the solar system. It was heavily guarded. Only high-ranking officials and special council workers could enter. How do we get in? John asked. We can't just knock on the door. Lisa had been quiet until now. Actually, we can. She held up a tablet. The council is bringing in human scientists to help with some projects. I applied and was accepted. I can take one assistant with me. That's too dangerous, Alan said immediately. Lisa shook her head. It's our best chance. I go in officially, gather what information I can. But I'll need someone with military training as my backup. After much discussion, they decided that John would go with Lisa as her assistant. They spent weeks preparing, studying the moon base layout, memorizing council protocols, and learning how to use special equipment William created for them. The day of the mission arrived. Lisa and John boarded the shuttle to the moon, their faces calm despite their racing hearts. The other initiative members watched the launch from the hidden base, silent with worry. On the moon, Lisa and John passed through strict security checks. Council guards scanned them thoroughly but found nothing suspicious. The devices William had given them were disguised as ordinary items. A pen, a watch, glasses. Welcome to Harmony Base, a Valkyrie guide said. You'll be working in Section 7. Your quarters are in Block C. For 3 days, Lisa worked in the laboratories while John gathered information about the base. On the 4th night, they made their move. The main control center is 2 levels down, John whispered as they moved through dark corridors. Guards change shifts in 5 minutes. We'll have a small window to get in. They slipped past the guards during the shift change and entered the control center. John kept watch while Lisa connected a small device to the main computer. Hurry, John urged. We have about 3 minutes. Lisa worked quickly. I'm in their system. Downloading their files now. The download completed just as alarms began to sound. We've been detected, John said. Time to go. They ran back to their quarters using a different route. They made it just before guards began searching the base. The next day, they left on a scheduled shuttle, the stolen data hidden in their equipment. When they returned to Earth, they immediately went to the hidden base. What they found in the files shocked everyone. The Council planned to disable all human technology in 6 months. Earth would face a choice: surrender completely or lose everything they had gained. This is it, Alan said as they studied the plans. This is their final move against us. Then we need to make our move first, Susan replied. Before they can act, time was running out. The Independence Initiative worked day and night to prepare for the coming conflict. They set up secret factories in remote locations to build technology that didn't rely on Council systems. Lisa and William developed weapons that could penetrate Council defenses. Susan quietly recruited military personnel she trusted. Their ranks grew to over 1,000 members spread across the globe. They communicated using William's secure network, sharing information and coordinating their efforts. We need to warn more people, Alan said during a leadership meeting. The public deserves to know what's coming. If we go public too soon, the Council will move up their timeline, John cautioned. We need to be ready first. A new face joined their inner circle. Kevin Ross was a high-ranking official in the North American Alliance government. He had access to classified information and important people. I can help you reach decision-makers, Kevin told them. People who can mobilize resources when the time comes. With Kevin's help, They began carefully approaching key figures in governments, militaries, and industries. Some believed them, others didn't, but enough listened to make a difference. Susan prepared to leave Earth. The UES Pathfinder was ready for its journey to Alpha Centauri. Before she left, William gave her special equipment. "These devices will let you take full control of the ship if necessary," he explained. "And this contains all our research so far. If things go wrong here, you might need to lead from space." Susan hugged her friends goodbye. "I'll be watching for your signal. Good luck." The Pathfinder launched the next day, carrying Susan and her crew toward the stars. 5 council members went with them, watching everything they did. Back on Earth, the initiative accelerated their plans. They smuggled their technology to strategic locations around the world. They trained people to use it. They prepared for resistance. Then disaster struck. Alan was working late in the hidden base when John burst into the room, his face pale. "We've been betrayed," John said, his voice shaking. "Kevin Ross is working for the council. He's exposed several of our operations." Alarms sounded throughout the base. "We need to evacuate," John said. "Now." They grabbed what they could and flowed into the night. Behind them, council ships descended on the base. The betrayal forced them to abandon several facilities and retreat deeper underground. The council seized their equipment and arrested many members. Some were questioned and released. Others disappeared. Alan, Lisa, John, and William escaped to a backup location, an old bunker deep in the mountains. They had lost much, but not everything. "The council will move up their timeline now," Alan said grimly. "We have weeks, not months." As if confirming his words, more council warships appeared in orbit around Earth. The aliens called it the Joint Defense Exercise, but the ships positioned themselves to cover major cities and military installations. "We need to warn everyone," Lisa insisted. "No more waiting." They used every channel available to them. They leaked information to journalists they trusted. They sent evidence to government officials who might listen. They spread the word through William's hidden network. The response was mixed. Many people refused to believe anything bad about the council. They had brought too many benefits, too many miracles. But doubt began to spread like ripples in still water. The council noticed. They implemented emergency protocols, taking direct control of key infrastructure, power plants, communication networks, transportation systems. They claimed it was to protect stability during this time of uncertainty. "They're preparing for the final phase," Williams said, monitoring council communications. "They're getting ready to shut everything down." Alan looked at their dwindling resources and tired faces. They had lost much in the betrayal. Their carefully laid plans were in shambles. But a new determination filled him. "The council thinks they've beaten us," he said. "They think humans will give up when faced with superior force. That's where they're wrong. We don't give up. We fight harder when our backs are against the wall." Lisa nodded. "So what's our move now?" Alan smiled for the first time in days. Something they'll never expect. The day of resistance began at dawn. William activated a virus he had created over many months. It spread through council communication systems, temporarily blocking their ability to coordinate. "It will only last about 2 hours," William said, his fingers flying across his keyboard. "They'll find and destroy it soon." 2 hours is all we need," Ellen replied. Across Earth, members of the Independence Initiative sprang into action. Military personnel who had joined their cause took control of key human vessels in orbit. On the ground, teams moved to seize Council outposts. The Council was caught by surprise. They had expected surrender, not attack. Their ships in orbit scrambled to respond as human vessels opened fire. Susan, aboard the Pathfinder near Alpha Centauri, received the signal that the resistance had begun. She and her loyal crew members locked the Council representatives in their quarters and turned the ship around, pushing its engines to the limit to return to Earth. In his bunker, Alan coordinated the global effort. "Status reports coming in," he announced. We've taken control of 12 Council outposts in North America. Europe reports similar success. Asia is meeting heavy resistance. Lisa monitored Council communications as their systems came back online. They're calling for reinforcements from their nearest base in the Centauri system. Those ships will take at least 3 days to arrive, John said. We need to secure our position before then. The element of surprise gave humans an initial advantage, but the Council quickly regrouped. Their superior technology allowed them to retake several locations. The space battle above Earth intensified as more Council ships joined the fight. We're losing ground, Alan said grimly, watching reports of Council advances. Lisa looked up from her screen. They're deploying their technology disruptors. Several cities have lost power. This was the Council's ultimate weapon, devices that could disable any technology not made by them. As they activated these devices around the world, human resistance faltered. Cars stopped. Phones died. Weapons failed. But then something unexpected happened. In areas where the initiative had secretly replaced infrastructure with their own technology, systems continued to function. The Council's weapon didn't work everywhere. Lisa's modifications are holding, William said excitedly. The Council can't shut down our tech because it operates on different principles. This was what made humans different, their ability to learn, adapt, and create new solutions. While Council technology followed rigid patterns, human innovations took unexpected paths. The battle raged for hours. Both sides suffered losses. The Council's superior firepower caused massive damage, but human forces showed remarkable resilience, constantly changing tactics and adapting to Council responses. We can't keep this up much longer, John warned as reports of Council advances continued to come in. We need something more. Alan nodded. It's time for the Prometheus Protocol. This was their final, desperate plan, a system William had developed to target the fundamental flaw in Council power generation. If it worked, it would temporarily disable all Council technology within the solar system. We need to coordinate globally, Alan said. All our teams need to activate their devices simultaneously. William sent the signal. Around the world, hidden devices activated. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, one by one, Council ships in orbit began to drift. Their lights flickered and went out. On the ground, Council outposts fell silent. It worked, Lisa whispered in disbelief. Their systems are shutting down. How long? John asked. 8 hours at most, William replied. Then their backup systems will engage. Alan stood up. 8 hours to secure as much ground as possible. 8 hours to show the Council that humans won't be ruled. Across Earth, human forces moved quickly to take advantage of the Council's vulnerability. They secured alien outposts, captured important technology, and freed areas under Council control. In space, Susan's Pathfinder arrived just as the Council ships went dark. She led a team of human vessels to capture the disabled alien craft. Send a message to the Council leadership, she ordered. Tell them we want to talk, not as subjects, but as equals. 3 weeks after the battle, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Council met on neutral ground, a space station positioned between Earth and Mars. The humans chose Alan, Lisa, Susan, John, and William to speak for them. The Council sent 5 Valkyrie and representatives from 3 other species. The negotiations were tense. Council members were not used to treating humans as equals. Your resistance was unexpected, the lead Valkyrie said. His voice was cold. No species has ever fought back so effectively. We don't like being controlled, Alan replied simply. We want to join the galactic community, but as partners, not servants. The Council representatives exchanged glances. Your species is dangerous, one said. You adapt too quickly. You change too easily. The stability of the galaxy requires control. Susan leaned forward. The battle proved we can't be controlled. You can either work with us or against us. Working against us will cost you more than you're willing to pay. This was not an empty threat. During the 8 hours of the Prometheus Protocol, humans had captured enough Council technology to understand their weaknesses. If war continued, both sides would suffer terrible losses. After days of difficult talks, an agreement was reached. Earth would join the Council, not as a subject world, but as a full member with equal voting rights. This had never happened before in Council history. As negotiations proceeded, humanity began establishing independent colonies beyond the solar system. They used modified versions of Council technology that couldn't be controlled remotely. The first truly human-designed faster-than-light ship, the UES Independence, prepared for its maiden voyage to unexplored space beyond Council territory. Alan stood on the observation deck of the space station, watching Earth slowly turn below. Lisa joined him. "The Council is still afraid of us," she said. Alan nodded. "They should be. Not because we want to hurt them, but because we represent change. They've been doing things the same way for thousands of years. We show them a different path." "Do you think they'll keep their word?" Lisa asked. "They will because they have to," Alan replied. "They realize now that trying to rule us would cost too much." Back on Earth, the changes happened quickly. William led a team to remove hidden Council control systems from human infrastructure. John worked with military leaders to create a defense force that could protect Earth and its colonies. Susan prepared for her next mission, leading an exploration fleet beyond known space. 1 month later, Alan traveled to the Council homeworld as Earth's first representative. The massive planet was covered in gleaming cities that had stood for millennia. In the Great Council chamber, thousands of aliens watched as he took Earth's seat. "The human speaks," announced the Council leader. Alan looked at the assembled representatives. "For too long, the Council has sought to rule rather than collaborate. You've conquered when you could have cooperated. But that approach cannot continue. The galaxy is changing. We must change with it." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some were angry, others thoughtful. "Humans remind you of what you once were," Alan continued. "Before conquest became your way, we offer something different. A partnership of equals where all species contribute their unique strengths." A Valkyrie stood. "And if we refuse this new path," Alan smiled, "then humanity will forge it without you. Other species will join us. The Council will become a relic of the past." That night, in his quarters, Alan received a message from Earth. The UES Independence had successfully tested its new drive system, faster and more efficient than anything the Council had. The ship would depart next week to explore beyond known space. Alan looked at the unfamiliar stars outside his window. The Council had planned to rule humanity, but humans had other ideas. Now, instead of being conquered, they were changing the very civilization that had tried to subjugate them. The future would not be what the Council had planned. It would be something new, something better, created together as equals among the stars.